Today I'm going to show you how to make a Absolver barrel out of a Maverick. It's going to be out of a 1/2" PVC, so if you have a 1/2" CPVC Nerf blaster, this will give you basically a shotgun. So this project doesn't require a lot of tools, skill, or materials. The only thing you're going to need is a hot glue gun, your favorite screwdriver, a rotary tool, a Maverick, and something you don't mind throwing away. First thing you need to do is unscrew your Maverick. There's 11 screws in all. They're all visible except for just one underneath this cover. For those of you who plan on putting your blaster back together and keeping it for parts, all the screws are the same size except for the 3 here in the slide. They're just a bit on the short side. So now we've got the blaster apart. If you're having a hard time separating the blaster, remember that this is old enough to have more pins than screws. So pull it apart gently if you plan on keeping the shell. The only part we really need is the cylinder and the parts of the rotating neck. We've got the cylinder out, and the next step is to put a little bit of pry action with your screwdriver there in that joint to pop off these gray plastic pieces. Once you have that bar pried out, you're going to want to look at the back of your cylinder. You'll see there's 3 screw holes. Just kind of rotate the cylinder and unscrew them as you come up to them. We've got all 3 screws out now. Go ahead and pry off the lid, and you'll have a handful of air restrictors. Go ahead and just wiggle them out. Look inside and you'll see this little nub here. Go ahead and undo those 2 screws, and that will drop this. These should be the pieces you're left with. The first thing we're gonna do is fill up all this dead space with the something you plan on throwing away, and the next thing we'll do is cut off this little nub here in the middle while this hot glue dries. Go ahead and tear some pieces of your paper off and stuff it into the center of your barrels. That's gonna help kill a lot of your dead space, and the next thing we're gonna have to do is fill this all around your barrels with some hot glue. The cylinder is now capped with hot glue. Basically, the important thing isn't that it looks pretty, it's that there are no holes. Any hole is going to be a spot where you're going to see some leakage. Go ahead and fill all this up, and then for a good measure, I like to fill up this center hole here. I just point the glue gun into it and then just squish out, kind of like a mushroom. And then if you tamp it down with a wet finger, it'll look a little smoother. I would say a good pro tip for this is to use a low heat glue gun. The high heat glue guns put out the amount of glue you're going to need faster, but it tends to want to sag and droop because it's so hot. It has a better run rate, and you'll end up filling this whole cylinder with hot glue instead of just making a cap. Go ahead and place your cylinder top on upside down, and you're going to need to tighten all 3 of your screws in a triangle pattern, just a couple turns at a time until they're all snug, and that'll help seat the top onto the body. Now that the cap's all screwed down, you're going to need to grab your Dremel tool and just kind of skim it over this a couple times until you have this hole totally opened up. We've Dremeled out the hole now, and it's not pretty, but it's open. The next thing we're going to have to do is unscrew the cap again and then fill up all these little cups with hot glue. We've got all the holes capped now. I just poured hot glue into each of the reservoirs while I kind of held my finger over the backside so it didn't all pour out. You might want to wet your finger a little bit to keep you from burning yourself. Even with this low temp hot glue, you can still get quite the little injury. Go ahead and pop this back on the top of your cylinder, and we'll get to the next step. I've cut myself an 1¼ inch piece of PVC. Basically, you're going to want to get some hot glue and put it around the rim here. And this actually pops right onto there, almost a friction fit. It's like it was made for this. We've glued in our piece of PVC, And the last little bit of effort you need to make is to squeeze some blobs in between each one of these posts. And that's going to help you kind of forever on the piece, make sure it doesn't fall out. Kind of a bonus tip here, if you feel like your Absolver barrel has a bit of an air leak to it, you can always wrap the cylinder with some duct tape or with some E-tape. I also went ahead and got some Teflon tape and made some gaskets for all my screws. I don't know if it's totally necessary, but it couldn't hurt.